I get this weird glow now that I'm over here by the window. Isn't that weird? That I'm totally whited out here? So, let me pull that over here. We are going to be playing this. Let me post the link. So what we wanted to discuss today is there is a YouTube douche who likes to claim that he's a supporter, but in being a supporter, he doesn't want you to say anything negative about Scott or Bobby, and he defends Barb. And what somebody brought to my attention, because I don't go to the douche's YouTube, is that he did a video yesterday or something, and where he totally leaves out the part when Steven says that Barb is leaving. And now, since we've talked about it here today, the douche claims that, oh, he didn't talk about it because he's going to be doing a special video on that another time. So, another video to try and make money on. And so that doesn't make any sense at all. And it's, again, that guy just being a douche, because this phone call shows that Barb lied, Scott lied, as they both said that they were together to watch Prison Break, which was on from 7 to 9 p.m. And so there is Steven saying on this call that there's Barbara leaving. And it's after 9, because if the time of this call, this call is dated October 31st, 2005, and then it says 20:58:11. So if that is military time, that is saying 9 p.m., right before 9 p.m. So what I'm going to do is we are going to play this phone call that I've already posted the link to. We're going to play it. It's 15 minutes and 1 second long. So we'll play this and listen to it and then discuss after. Ready? I'm going to hit play now.
This call is subject to monitoring and recording. Thank you for using Evercom.
Oh, that's so sexy.
What did I say?
I love them.
Hey, why did it stop? Something went wrong. Hold on. Let's start this over, because it said something went wrong. Download.
This call is subject to monitoring and recording. Thank you for using Evercom.
Oh, that's so sexy.
What did I say?
I love of my life.
Is this the first time it rang?
No.
It rang before?
Yeah. I don't know. But you were on it. I said, damn, I gotta hurry up to get to the front of the house. Well, I'm just working out here.
Did you call Shannon or no?
No. Oh, maybe I'll do that later.
Because I'll tell her too, if it'll help things, make things look better or whatever, I'll be willing to go on that rope program.
What rope program?
Some program they have where you got that curfew I was telling you about.
A curfew?
Yeah. Or whatever. I don't know. I'd have to ask her what it is.
Well, you asked her if she could do anything.
Yeah.
to get you at home.
I need a blow dryer.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you need a blow job.
Ah, yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sick of always having my hair pulled back.
You know? Mm. I see. Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Sick of these people.
Yeah. Oh. Mm.
Except for Heather.
Mm. Yeah, I'm cleaning up the yard a little bit. And,
Oh, I'm gonna be you're gonna be taking them home.
what?
Some shit. The papers that I wrote to the judge and to
You know?
Stephen, I got to give you. The paper stating of my AODA class now. I kept that out in the Y,
Mm.
but I'll just give that to you. Tiffany's letter,
Mm.
and I think that's in the letter I wrote you that you don't have to read, but you can after you drop me off.
Mm.
And the pictures of what I want you to go get tomorrow.
Mm.
And yes, it has to be tomorrow.
Why?
Because otherwise they might run out.
Well, we can always get this shit later.
No, you can't.
Why?
Because I've never seen it there.
Well, it depends what it is.
The thing I told you I wanted you to give to your mom for me to get.
You know? Mm.
And you're not going to have much to do anyways.
You know?
So you can run there and get that in one thermal shirt.
Mm.
And
Mm.
that'll be fine. Just make it like an extra large.
Mm. And that shit can't wait till I get my big money?
No,
Why not?
because it's not a ring.
It don't make a difference. We got bills to pay.
Because it's really, really pretty and I really, really want it.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things I want.
And you get what you want.
No, I don't.
You get your dick sucked
No. When do I get my dick sucked?
when I want a cigarette.
But you ain't out here to suck it.
Not now.
No. When you get out, it's all done with cigarettes.
When you ask.
Well, I'll be asking.
Well, until I see you on your knee,
Well, it's too bad. You have to wait.
that's when I quit. I
Yeah.
told you.
Well, I might have to ask you right at home here.
Don't tell me.
You know? Well, you can't do it nowhere else.
I told you. I don't care as long as it's romantic.
A minute.
That means, like, get roses, put rose petals
Don't
on
tell me what to do.
put rose petals on the bed or
Fuck you.
in the bathtub. Romantic.
Romantic.
Dinner.
Romantic.
Can't have a glass of wine, so it'll have to be
Soda.
lemonade, grape juice,
Yeah.
soda,
Mm. Mm.
kitty cocktail.
Oh. Oh. Yeah, I was telling Barbara over there too. Told her to stay home. Get
Why?
this shit done around here.
Why was she got to get?
So we're at 5 minutes, 11 seconds into it. So this would be 9:05 when he says he's telling Barb to stay home. So again, so this is going to be 9:05, give or take, since this says it started at 58. So 9:03. But prison break would have been over 3 minutes prior to this even comment. All right, play again.
Done.
She lives like a fucking pig.
Yeah, I know that.
Oh.
Probably worse now with Tom gone.
And
Yeah?
she wanted Brendan to do the dishes. I took Brendan over here to help me.
So now we're at 5:29. So Stephen is saying that Barb wanted Brendan to do the dishes, so Stephen brought Brendan over by him. Huh?
And then when we walked in there, she looked at him. That's my. I see Brendan's dishes are done.
You did them, huh?
She did.
What, does she go out every night?
Yeah, she's gone all the time. That fucking Suburban don't even get cold. I told her that. That some bitch don't even get cold. You're always on the fucking road.
More than she was before?
Yeah.
I know.
Shit. The last couple of days, she come home, 5 minutes. They're gone again. Last night she didn't get home till, it was 11 or 12 o'clock. Well, fucking Scotty. That's all I hear.
Yeah, and she wanted nothing to do with him, huh?
Yeah, she talked about him all the time.
Liars.
I'm sick of it.
Yeah?
You gotta go beat around the fucking bush. Get to the fucking point. People don't give a shit no more.
Yeah, I know. Too bad we couldn't take your mom-in-laws. Well, I know you want to stay in this area, but we can take her with. She ain't gonna move them.
Between here and up north. It all depends.
I wouldn't mind them living with us.
Huh?
I wouldn't mind them living with us.
Who?
Your mom and dad, if need be.
Yeah, I know.
What do you mean?
No.
What do you mean?
Yeah, you know what I mean.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. What do you mean?
I don't know.
My picture's still up north?
Yeah. Of course it is. Where is it else going to be?
I don't know. I thought maybe your mom took it down
No, she didn't take your picture down.
because of my big boobs.
No. I don't know. Chucky looked at him.
No, really.
Yeah, Brian seen him. Then he grabbed his nuts.
On the picture?
No. When he was walking, looking at it.
On the picture.
Yeah, when he looked at the picture.
That's all I was wondering. Well, what the fuck am I wearing?
They were in their black outfit. Oh, she's leaving again.
So this is 8 minutes, 11 seconds into this call. So around 9:10 p.m. is when he says, oh, she's leaving again. So prison break is over, Barb. And how long was she there? Sorry, I've got the microphone on the speaker. So it's 8 minutes, 11 seconds into this call, meaning it's 9:10 p.m. ish. And prison break was over 10 minutes ago. So Barb is lying about watching Prison Break with Scott. Scott is lying about watching Prison Break with Barb. They also testified that they were watching it live. It was not recorded. So why are they lying? And if Barb was home at this time, why wouldn't she be the alibi for her son and her brother? She knows they're not out burning a body, because Stephen even talks about that they walked into the house and saw that the dishes were done because she did the dishes. Let's go back to the video or the call.
What black outfit? My swimsuit?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, that's
And my
probably what
big
it is.
pants, my shorts, my big
No, it don't. It go from the waist up.
Is there a black string around my neck?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Oh, yeah, that's up north, huh?
Yeah,
That's probably my... You got a picture like that at home, right?
I think so. Yeah.
It's my swimsuit, my bib shorts.
Now she's gone again.
I don't want a Dr. Pepper.
So at 8:46 into this call. So 8 minutes, 46 seconds is when Stephen is saying Barb is gone. So again, 9:10. Scott didn't live far from Avery Salvage Yard, but that's still not enough time to get to Scott's house to watch something that started 2 hours ago. I'm unsure of Prison Break. A lot of times what happened back then is that Fox would play last week's episode, the first hour from 7 to 8, and then the new episode of Prison Break would be on from 8 to 9, or if this was a special 2-hour episode. But regardless, no matter what they were watching, her leaving at 9:10 p.m. does not give her enough time to get to Scott's trailer to watch Prison Break. Liar, liar. Why are you lying, Barb? We'll go back to the call.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that one tasted watered down.
Let's see, what time? Oh, 20 after, huh?
Yeah.
I'll be there. I'll take you there. I'll call her tonight so she can talk to you.
Yeah.
I'll leave it on her answer machine. It don't make a difference with time. When I get this far, I'll get it. Mel. Mel? I love you.
I love you too.
Mel. Mel?
Mm.
You have to come home. Hurry up, come home and watch a big TV.
When?
Soon.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
You said you had to hurry up and come home.
No.
I'm going to hurry up, come home, take a shower, and shave and lay in bed.
Uh,
On the floor. Wherever you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
I hope she says yeah.
Yeah.
There isn't a legal name for that, is there?
Probably is, but I don't remember. No.
I don't remember either. Oh, wow.
You even down the line. That probation won't be probation anyway.
Mm.
But I try to get a hold of dude for that who he talked to for the Justice Department. I couldn't get a hold of him. So I called him quite a few times. But I'll do that off and on.
Yeah.
See who I can talk to. Well, I got somebody in mind, but I got to find the paperwork. And I don't know where the fucking paperwork is, so I have to find it. One night I'll go through it.
It's supposed to be cold tomorrow morning.
I don't know.
I do. I want some news.
Oh, yeah? Oh, it's supposed to start to get cold.
I know. It's supposed to snow.
Oh, yeah?
Rain mix with snow this weekend.
Mm.
Up north.
Mm. I'll be going up north this weekend.
I know.
After Saturday, after I see you.
Yeah, you can just go up there and get that shit done.
Well, I want to see you too, though. Know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah. You know, Brian wants to go, but I don't know.
I thought, why did you bring your snowmobile home?
Because I was going to trade it in.
Oh.
But maybe I'll just sell it outright. I don't need it this year anyway. Now wait till my big check comes, I'll get a new one.
Yeah, you don't need to go snowmobiling without me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Or fishing or anything.
Ah, Mm.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I ain't got time to do that. I ain't got the money to do that. Mm. Yeah.
I hate this place.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Can't wait till it's done and over with.
Mm. That's why I keep my ass out of trouble. I don't do nothing no more.
Better not.
Hmm?
Better not.
Oh, I don't. No. Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
I miss Tiffany.
Yeah. I miss her too.
Look, Brad.
Huh?
Wait till you read that letter. I
Well,
know you will. What's up?
what the fuck I do with my soda? Oh, it's over there by the golf cart. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I wanted to paint this fucking garage.
I've been real close already.
Yeah. But I like it all one color. At least 3 sides anyway, not the back.
1 minute left.
The back I don't care about.
I'll do it when I come home.
Yeah, the middle of winter?
No. In spring.
You know, well, you could be home before that. Yeah. Well, I love you. And else I'll see you in the morning.
You bet.
Yeah.
Sit tight.
Yeah, you too.
Sit tight.
Yeah, you too.
Dream of me.
Yeah, I do.
I'll see you there.
And I got your pictures all over.
You have 30 seconds left.
Your pictures were all over today.
Why not?
Yeah.
Don't forget to kiss him.
Kiss them, feel them.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Yeah.
You can feel the real thing tomorrow.
Yeah. I can't do that. That's breaking the rules.
Whatever. I love you.
Yeah, I love you too.
I'll see you in the morning.
Yeah.
You don't have to bring me any candy.
Yeah, you don't need it anyway.
Thank you for using Evercom.
Okay. So, Rebecca, your question. In all your time you spent with Barb and Scott, do you believe Barb is smarter than when she makes out to be, hiding all this stuff she knows the truth on? That's double-edged. She's not scared of Scott, yet she would hide stuff from Scott. So, like, in a phone call once, she called only because her and Scott were out hunting, and they're each in their own deer stands, so nowhere near each other. And so that's when she was saying that she wants to leave Scott and she would go live with one of her sons. So she's not smart by any means. But I do believe I still believe she didn't know anything at the time and that she learned after the fact, and that she was manipulated, like she was arrested for pot and that miraculously now went away, and so that was used, that you say this and you'll get away with that. I think that she believed that Brendan would only get a couple years at a juvenile detention center and be free. And so, yes, I do think at this point, because all these lies just keep coming out about Barb, that she's why her son's in prison. I hate to say it. I've been giving Barb so much slack for so long. And how could you do that to your child? But when you see this or listen to this, why wouldn't she say she was at home at 9 o'clock Why is she saying she's at Scott's house watching Prison Break? Why wouldn't she say she was with her brother and her son? So therefore, they're not at the burn pit burning a body. Billy says, I have one also. I was wondering if he or anyone at the salvage yard heard anything. The only thing that Stephen has said to me is about seeing Scott's truck there that day over at Barb's, parked behind Bobby's truck. So Scott, who said he was at the hospital, was over at Bobby's. Why was he there? Jennifer says, has Barb said anything since this came out? I think she avoids it. And the fans allow her to get away with it. And her fans who have YouTube channels then want to deny this. It's really funny how hypocritical they are. And this is something that I think one of the moderators pointed out before, in that these people like to say that Ryan Hilgas is guilty. But then if somebody says Scott and Bobby are, they get all defensive, and it's like, oh, prove it. Prove it was Ryan Hilgas. Everything leads to Bobby and Scott. Everything Kathleen is showing us leads to Bobby and Scott. I believe Ryan Hilgas is part of covering up the RAV4 and in getting the RAV4 planted at the salvage yard. So Ryan Hilgas is involved in the cover-up. He's not innocent. But Bobby is who murdered Teresa Halbach with an assist from Scott, or vice versa. I think it's Bobby with the assist from Scott. And I don't understand why someone would claim to be a supporter and won't allow people to say that it's Bobby and Scott. And when you have a phone call like this, why you wouldn't say, hey, what's going on with this? No, instead you want to party with Barb and Scott and then defend them and go, oh, they're really nice. Was Hitler nice? It's okay that they kill people. They're nice to me. So that makes it okay. Or it makes it so I can sell ads on my YouTube channel. So I can go on vacations. Tara says, Scott also got a frantic call and left work, I believe. Julian says, I have to agree with you, Jax. I also believe she didn't know at the time. I do believe she knows something now. And Tara says, the key, too. I believe that Ryan Hilgas, Scott Blodorn, and Michael Halbach are all intertwined in the RAV4 and the key. I believe law enforcement is who planted the key in the bedroom. And I know Kathleen says that Bobby got the blood from the Grand Am, or no, she says got the blood from Stephen's bathroom and planted it, but I still say law enforcement planted the blood. Brittany says, I myself wondered why Stephen's nephew and Scott went against them. You think they would have backed him and Brendan up, but they had it well planned out. I can't wait till it's out and they get theirs. Rebecca says, so that makes it clearer now that they had something on her for her to lie. Gwen says, I don't think Barb knew anything in the beginning, but as the days, weeks, and months went on, she definitely did, whether be it through Scott and Bobby, acting weird and maybe asking her for alibi or something along those lines, not knowing Brendan would get caught up in all this. One shit excuse for a mother. Well, don't forget the deer. So, because we've got multiple stories on that, where Bobby says he saw the deer hit on the road. Barb says she saw the deer laying on the road and asked Bobby if he wanted it. What's the story with that deer? Carl says it would be interesting if Barb and Scott were asked to take a lie detector. Both would refuse, which tells you a lot. Well, lie detectors are not admissible and they're easy to beat. So I don't put much stock in a lie detector. I did find now that brain fingerprinting thing, when we only saw documents on it, filing about the brain fingerprinting thing, I was like, this is weird and stupid. But then watching part 2, I see what they're saying, but that makes it more interesting. But them taking a lie detector or not doesn't mean anything to me. It's refusing to talk to Kathleen. I guess the human lie detector, right? Why wouldn't you cooperate with Kathleen Zellner? Emily says, Barb alibis Scott saying she was with him from 5 on visiting his mother. Right. But at some point, she goes home, that he drops her back off at her place, and then she gets in her vehicle and then goes to Scott's. So I guess we need to look up the transcripts and see what they say those times were. I've forgotten all that. But also now playing that call, you hear Stephen. Does that sound like somebody who is burning a body? Does that sound like somebody who has kidnapped, tortured, raped, stabbed, shot, cut up, burned a person? And you hear him talking to her. You hear in the background there's a police scanner. I'm sure there's going to be Gilter saying, see, he was listening to a police scanner to find out if they were after him. No, he especially when you run a junkyard where you would get police tows, you'd be listening for a job. But it's something, when the last time I visited Stephen, I had asked him, was it a landline or a cell phone? And he said at that time, and Jody was in jail and they could only call landlines. And I said, so did your cordless phone reach the burn pit? And he said, I don't know. I never tried. And I said, well, that's an answer in itself right there, that he doesn't even know if it would reach. And then I was saying something else and Stephen must have still been thinking about it. And he says, well, it didn't reach my driveway. And I'm like, okay, yeah, if it wouldn't reach your driveway, it's not going to go behind the garage. So he's not there poking at a fire. So just when is he tending to these bones in a fire? And when is Brendan there doing all of that? Because now he's on the phone with Jody, and he talks about how Barb wanted Brendan to do the dishes, and so Stephen got Brendan out of it, and then him and Brendan went back in and the dishes are done, and Stephen made the catty comment of, look, Brendan's dishes are done, to poke at his sister. So does this again sound like people who are in the process of trying to cover up a murder? That they'd be doing these things? And then you hear Stephen saying he's going to see Jody tomorrow. So he'd be picking her up for her class. And that he was planning on going up north on the weekend. And again, why would you be leaving home if you committed a murder and you need to cover it up? Tara says 5 to 7 p.m. Oh, 5 to 7 is when they were at the hospital? But that also wouldn't fit because Barb gets home at 5, right? She gets home from work at like 5. And then it's a 35-minute drive from her place to the hospital. Gwen says, hell no. He was even saying he doesn't want any more trouble on the phone call. Tara says, absolutely not. He sounds disgusted and horny, not frantic or out of breath from allegedly cutting up a body and burning it. Emily said, why wouldn't she alibi her own brother and son? On Scott's interview with police, he bashes Stephen, saying he molests Brendan. If I were Barb, I wouldn't stand for my boyfriend talking about my family like that. And the molesting that they're talking about is wrestling. When they try to hint at any kind of molesting. And anybody who knows Brendan knows how much that kid loves, well, I still call it WWF wrestling, but it's WWE. And when I had talked to Pete Dassey, Brendan's dad, and asked him what does he miss doing the most with his son, he said wrestling with his son. Wrestling was a big deal, and that Pete wants to take his son to a wrestling match, and Brendan wants to go to a wrestling match with his dad. So that's not molestation. And they also wanted, wasn't it law enforcement that Barb claimed that law enforcement wanted Barb to say that Stephen molested her? Jennifer said, he doesn't sound tired from cleaning up his bedroom and putting the dust back. Excellent point, Jennifer. Yeah, how hard is that? Putting dust back. You're right. That's got to be really difficult. Emily, or Brittany, says, he also lied about how tall the flames were. When on stand, he said they were like 10 foot high, and his report to police, it was 2-3 feet. I asked Scott about that in person. What Scott had told me was just like what was done to everybody else that was questioned by law enforcement. They asked him and asked him and asked him, and so he would change his story to get to how they wanted him to answer. So he claims that's why the size of the fire changed, because law enforcement wanted him to say that. Julie says, were any of those calls used by the defense? Nope, because the defense claimed they heard from Sweaty Sweat that there's nothing of importance on them, and they just bought it. Another ineffective assistance of counsel. I really don't want to beat up on Strang and Buting, but there's just too many of these instances where they just didn't question what Kratz said or did. Why would you ever have a gentleman's agreement with the state? The state isn't looking out for the best interest of your client. Sand says, do you know what is happening on the 15th? No idea. I'm going to assume the 15th is another date that somebody has given. This is going to be the date we're going to hear this. We don't know when we're going to hear anything. So I know people want concrete dates of things. It's just not how it works. So as soon as we know, we'll get it posted. When, I get contacted and told when stuff has been filed. So, and we'll discuss it as soon as it happens. But there is no hard date. Stephen doesn't know a hard date. When I visited him 2 weeks ago or whatever, he said he was hoping that they would hear something in the next month. Kiara says, I want to send letters to both Steve and Brendan. Do the prisons accept overseas mail? Yes. Just make sure, the thing that I always tell people is, if you're going to write to Stephen, Brendan, or anybody in prison, make sure on your letter itself you also have your return address, because all prison mail is read by the prison and they just rip open your envelope and it could destroy the return address. So I also tell you to never write to somebody just because you want to get a letter back. Brendan has a tendency to write to people more than Stephen would. Stephen's been burned so many times by people trying to use his letters and doctoring his letters and selling his letters. And Stephen just doesn't like to write. But it just makes sense if you put your return address also on your letter, so they have that in case your envelope has been mangled. Stan says Zellner is supposed to file something. Yeah, I have no idea. Amy says, after watching confession tapes, it does my head in when those cops that do the interrogations after they are proven innocent still say they are guilty. This will happen to Stephen and Brendan for sure. Oh, absolutely. They'll go to their graves saying that these guys are guilty. But it also just opens up every other case those people have ever been involved in. Because if you're going to do this to Stephen and Brendan, how many others was this done to? Ricky Hochstetler, Carmen Bootwell. How many are there? And that's just Manitowoc. Yeah, it's everywhere. Down here, you got Melissa Kaluzinski, Marnie Yang. Brittany says, I'm new to this group. Are you related to Stephen or just a good family friend? Sorry for asking, just curious. I am neither. I am not related to Stephen, and I don't like the family, and the family doesn't like me. The only person from the family I associate with is Stephen. Stephen calls me on occasion, and I go visit on occasion. So I am not a fame stalker. I do not look at Making a Murderer as a TV show, and these are characters that are actors, and I want to meet my favorite actors and all that. That's not me. I do not have anything against Stephen's parents, Alan and Dolores. They are the only family members that have 100% been there for Stephen the entire time. The rest of them are manipulative. Stephen is currently has a good relationship with his brothers. But his brothers, in my opinion, cannot be trusted. And for the people who like to take the videos I make and then show them to the family to go, we're going to tell Stephen that she said this about his family. I say these things to Stephen. I truly have nothing to hide. I don't care. Stephen, I went 6 months without hearing from Stephen, all because somebody was telling Stephen lies about me. And instead of Stephen just asking me himself, he believed those people. And that could happen again. There's lots of people that really want Stephen to hate me. And that won't change what I do. I will continue to advocate for Stephen because he is innocent and he shouldn't be in prison. I don't have to be his friend. Denise, is the judge under any time limit for a ruling? No. Nope. And it's so dumb because everybody knows, everybody assumes the judge is going to say no. You know, and then the guilters will go, ha ha ha, Kathleen, the big Kathleen Zellner lost again. She knows she's going to lose this. It's the way our dumb system is set up that it has to go back to the judge that already hates you and has ruled against you. Of course, she's not going to flip it. You know, so you know, but you have to do that so then you can go up the next level. It's stupid. I hate it. I hate our system. Our system, the United States, the legal system is so horrible. Kiara says, so much respect for you. Thank you for all you do. Well, thank you for being here. So the point of this video today is, as we started with, I wanted to play that phone call where Stephen is on the phone with Jody. Jody was his girlfriend at the time that Teresa Halbach went missing. Since Jody was in for her 11 billionth DUI, she was in jail, not prison. She was in jail. She would call Stephen 11 billion times a day, which that's something I had talked to Stephen about on the visit too, is, you know, did you talk to her every day and all those times a day? And he's like, yeah. And that he and Jody would argue about that too, because he'd go, I can't afford these calls. You know, you can't afford to just talk to her all the time. He didn't have money then. Now, this was the end of October, and his depositions had just started for his $36 million case, and he was going to be getting a payment from the state that was above and beyond whatever the lawsuit was going to do. So he was going to be coming into money in December. So that's one of the things when he says to Joni, I can't wait till I get my big money. Because in December, he was going to be getting that 400 and something thousand or whatever it was. But the reason this call was made important today, now we went through all these calls when it was FOIA'd, and it was somebody on Reddit, I believe. Reddit is the first place I saw it, that they had requested these calls. So we had done a live video then where we discussed, there's 12 different calls. It took us over 2.5 hours to go over all the calls. Most of them are the 15-minute limit. Some of them are shorter. But now there's somebody who discussed that call that we just played, but they totally dropped out there the whole thing about Barb leaving at 9:10 p.m. So covering for Barb. And as I said, since we here called him out on it, and Carolyn Fitzgerald and some other people are calling him out directly on the YouTube post, he now claims, well, he purposely didn't discuss it so he could make another video and make more money off of the same call instead of discussing it all at the same time. So I played the call for y'all in its entirety for you to hear Stephen saying, oh, she's leaving again. And it's when prison break is over. So Barb is lying. Liar, liar, liar. And for someone who claims to be a supporter to say, we love Barb. No, we don't. A supporter should not be saying, we love Barb. Because Barb's lies have put Stephen and Brendan in prison. Barb's lies keep Stephen and Brendan in prison. And then I don't know if it was a post somebody made in Gossip or something I saw in a screenshot somebody sent to me, but somebody was saying that to talk negative about Barb only hurts Brendan because that's the person he trusts the most. No, it doesn't, because Brendan's not on the internet. So the only way he knows this stuff is if somebody tells him, and nobody's going to tell him that his mom is a liar and the reason he's in prison. He's not getting that information. Barb has instructed Brendan he is not to open letters unless she approves it. And he listens to it. So people discussing it on Facebook, on Twitter, on Reddit, whatever, doesn't affect Brendan's life at all. Stephen's not on the internet, nor is Stephen. So they don't see that. And again, why are people so concerned with protecting Barb? Shouldn't you be more concerned with wanting Brendan freed and the truth to come out? So protecting Barb keeps Brendan in prison. Point blank. Denise says there should be limits on cases like this. It should not be allowed to go on forever in limbo. I totally agree. There should be, because she knows how she's going to rule. She's not thinking about it. She knows. Even when you go to a trial or whatever, they're given stuff in advance. They have all the paperwork. The judges know. You know, I went to Ken Pellegrini's hearing however long ago. And we're still waiting for that decision. The judges read it. They know. What's to discuss about this long? There should be set deadlines because you're keeping these people, you're stealing their lives. And then if you want to be concerned about taxpayer dollars, keeping people in there, you know, where people want to say they're free room and board, I don't want to fall down that rabbit hole, but that'll get me going in a whole nother direction on, for example, Melissa Kaluzinski. She told me she doesn't eat dinner in the prison. She don't like it. So the food she eats strictly comes out of her commissary, the food that she buys and she makes in herself. You know, so taxpayers aren't paying for Melissa to eat. Melissa's paying for Melissa to eat. Melissa wants soap, toothbrush, toothpaste. You know, she's paying for that. So I don't even, you know, so I'm going to go into a bad way. Julie says, on November 1, there was calls too, and no sounds of him struggling with burning a body, etc. Yeah. There, those 12 calls go all the way through. I think the last call is dated like December 6th. And so those calls, again, showing you landline, is now Stephen is in jail. And so he's calling Dolores. And Dolores is doing a thing of doing a phone-to-phone thing. She talks about, I have to put you upside down. So she's got like Jody on a cell phone or something, or somebody else's phone or whatever, and she's flipping the phone. So now, because then there's Jody and Stephen and Dolores all on there, all that way. Miley says, always when I'm at work. Sorry. Stan says, how is it legal to put out these calls? They could affect people's cases. It's public record. So it is legal. All calls are recorded and are public property. Julie says, left out Stephen's remark that Barb lives like a pig too. Yeah. Kara says, I missed a call. I'll rewatch this video later if it's still available. Yeah, it'll still be up. And I've posted the link in here. And I posted it in another thread too on where you could get it. Cindy says, I was watching Rubber Ducky and they were talking to a couple. They mentioned a Marie Avery. Who is this Marie Avery? And is this true what they are talking about on this video? Has anyone else listened to them? Marie Avery is Earl Avery's stepdaughter. But he's not married to Candy Avery any longer. And I don't know what you're referring to about Marie. So you would have to follow up on there on Marie. Carol says, even if she changed her story and told the truth, the cops, wouldn't believe her. They would claim she is lying now. Yeah. Maz says, what? So Barb reads all Brendan's mail before he does? No. She tells him names to look for and to not even open their letters. And he will listen to her. That you're not allowed to read from this person. And Brendan obeys. Kiara says, I'm sure as anything, Barb knows something, but she's scared to talk. I don't know. San said, didn't Stephen say the same thing about the food? Stephen was complaining that he says legally they are to have one hot meal a day. And on the weekends now, they're short staffing or are short staffed. And so he's not getting the one hot meal a day. So Stephen does eat in, what do they call it? Chow hall, right? But he's not getting hot food. Julie says, did Paul get his vehicle fixed? I don't even know. Julie says, we want these calls to affect this case. Yeah. San says, I agree in this case. They are even more proof he is innocent. So, but yeah, so that was the reason for going live today, to make sure it is pointed out that Barb is lying and Scott is lying about when they were together on Halloween night. So people can try and make excuses, but there is no reason that Stephen would be lying to Jody in that call. Oh, she's leaving, and it's a jail call, so it's recorded, it's time-stamped. So we know, because since that call is dated saying it was at 8:58 p.m. when it started, there's no way, no matter what he could have said in the first 30 seconds of that call, there she goes leaving, she would not make it to Scott's in time to watch something that started an hour ago. So Barb is lying. So why didn't she say? She knows that her son is innocent because I was at home. Because doesn't Brendan say even in whatever time he spent with Stephen that he was home by 9:30 or whatever, that his mom wanted him home by 9:30 or 10? So everything just is not adding up, with it being also a 35-minute drive to the hospital. And Barb worked. So when did she get home from work? What time was Scott picking her up? And then 35 minutes to the hospital, 35 minutes back. So, you know, if they left, if Barb got home at 5 and they leave at 5:30, they're getting there at 6. Right? And if she's leaving her trailer at 9:10, but she's done the dishes to where Stephen's telling Jody that Barb wanted Brendan to do the dishes, Stephen went and got Brendan, and then him and Brendan at some point go in there to see that the dishes are done and that Stephen's joking about it. Oh, she did Brendan's dishes. So she's home long enough to wash these dishes. I don't know. Just something's rotten. Cindy says, this is what I seen earlier. They mentioned Marie Avery and other things. I'm asking if it's true. Well, I'm not going to play the YouTube. You just got to tell me what you're asking if it's true. Cindy says, oh, wait, I just read that. Lynn said, can Brendan's dad get an attorney against Barb? He's not going to go against Barb. Barb holds the keys to Brendan. Pete knows he's got to follow Barb's rules or she'll cut Pete off. So, and Pete isn't bright. He's this dumb guy too, and is intimidated by her. So he's not going to go against Barb. Julie said, I heard guilters are saying that Stephen said those things because he knew calls are recorded. Dumbest thing I've ever heard. Wow, he's a really good actor. Because you hear nothing in that voice. Nothing at all that would say that he's just murdered somebody. And I've heard him angry. And there's nothing there. San says she is so tangled into this now, there is no going back. Chelsea said, yes, I think it was 9 that she wanted him home by. Yeah, I don't remember for sure the time on that. I've forgotten all that, and I don't remember numbers well. So, but also something else I want to make sure that people remember is Stephen says he saw Scott's truck parked behind Bobby's truck there that day. That's something nobody talks about. You know, Scott and Bobby say they passed each other, but they never say that they were together at Bobby's. But Scott says he saw Scott's truck there. Why was Scott there during the day? And then Stephen told me that prior times when Teresa was there to take pictures of cars, she went through Bobby. So Bobby has met Teresa and talked with Teresa, but that's never being mentioned ever. And Stephen believes it's Bobby who answered a door in a towel because he said he didn't do that. Julie said, and he must have known she was missing already too. Right? It's ridiculous. Again, ridiculous, because if this is premeditated, as they like to say, that Stephen was calling Teresa Halbach to come there, then why is he now going to get Jody? Why doesn't he just have better planning in general of having an opportunity to get rid of the car? That he wouldn't be crushing that car or dumping the car into the pond back there. Because the pond that's alongside where the RAV was found is deep enough to fully submerge that car. Why would you be planning to go to Crivets if you knew you had a murder scene to clean up? So you know your whole family is leaving to go up north, but you're going to go instead of, ooh, everybody's gone. I can now cover all this stuff up. You know, when people say that the RAV4 was parked there only because he wasn't having an opportunity to crush the car without people seeing, well, they're all going to Crivets on the weekend. So why did Stephen go to Crivets? Wouldn't he stay there and now crush the car or get rid of the car? So something else I want to discuss is I posted it yesterday, I believe, that there's this little short documentary thing. Let me see if I can get it. But it's this short little thing with Penny Bernstein. And it really upsets me still. I know what happened to her is horrible, that she was assaulted. But I will forever be bothered by her turning her back on Stephen immediately. And just going along with everybody else and saying he's guilty. You would think she would at least wait for evidence and not go off of hearsay when it comes to Stephen after what she did to him. And I know law enforcement manipulated her like manipulated everybody else, and she was assaulted and went through this horrible thing. But it really bothers me that she and Wisconsin Innocence Project and the Avery Task Force just cut ties with him immediately and jumps on the he's guilty bandwagon. Really, really pisses me off. So, Kiara, that's Penny Bernstein, who in Stephen's first wrongful conviction, she was the woman who was assaulted and then who identified Stephen as her attacker. So she just did this thing, so it's a really short video thing on there where she's going over what happened to her and how horrible she feels about what happened to Stephen. But like I said, as soon as this Teresa Halbach thing came on, she was quick to jump to he's guilty. It really bothers me. I'm not saying she has to like Stephen, not saying she has to have any kind of relationship with him, not saying she has to defend him, but I've seen where she said he was guilty. And that, it will forever infuriate me. She owes him the respect to look into the case fully and not just listen to what Manitowoc says. She owes him way more than that. She is part of the reason he lost 18 years of his life. He lost his children, lost his wife. So, all right, Kiara saying it's so late she has to go, but I'm going to wrap this up. Been on for an hour, and we went over all of that. So I will end this with, if you ever see anything anywhere and you have a question on it, you feel free to ask here. Because I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give it to you straight, on what is going on. And this is MAM Gossip. Yes, we also run Steven Avery Project, but in MAM Gossip, this is where we talk about all the other bullshit affiliated with this case, as well as we talk about other cases here. We do not do that on Steven Avery Project. Steven Avery Project stays mostly just Steven's case. Sometimes I will squeeze in something on one of the other cases I advocate for, because those cases need some love and attention too. And as well as the Justice Review team that I work with. Oh, okay, Debbie. Debbie says, dang, wanted to ask about Marnie. What do you want to know about Marnie? I will wait for your question on Marnie, and we'll see what I can say depending on what you ask. I am going to see Marnie and Melissa next week. I tend to visit them every other Wednesday if I can. And so I went and saw them last week. So now I'll be going next week. Next Wednesday is my birthday, but I don't think I'm doing anything for my birthday, so I'll drive down there and visit the girls. But Marnie, I know it's hard for you all because I get it. When I first looked into Marnie's case too, when I was asked to jump on board the team, I'm like, everything out there is guilty. But remember what Ken Kratz did. So just know there's that manipulation here on Marnie. Thank you, Rob. But as I explained, there's a thread in here in Gossip that people were talking about Marnie's case. And so I was asked, why can't I talk about the evidence in Marnie's case when we talk about all this stuff in Stephen's case? Or Brendan's case. Well, we talk about this stuff after Kathleen has filed and we see this stuff, and then, you can talk about it because it's there, and it's been submitted. Marnie, it hasn't been filed. So you don't want, so you wouldn't want the state to know that you're looking into Bobby's computer. until you had your turn at the computer or whatever. You know what I mean? You don't want to give them the chance to cover up, block, whatever. So, but I did sit down a couple months ago for 2 days at Marnie's lawyer's office. Her whole legal team was there. And it's a whole bunch of different experts, a ballistics expert, a lie detector person, just there's everything. And they go over piece by piece everything that the state used to convict her and what the other side of that is. Marnie is innocent. I tell you, she's innocent. You don't have to believe me. Debbie says, not asking for specifics, but have you seen definitive proof she was not involved? Yes, I have. Absolutely. Debbie says, do we know which call was Halloween night? Is that call dated? When you hover over the calls, the date comes up. So that's how you'll see it. Julie says, be sure to have a honey bun from the vending machine as your birthday cake. They have the thing I've been getting now most of the time when I'm visiting with Melissa is they have this 7-layer dip. So you buy the 7-layer dip and then you buy the bag of Tostitos. Last time I was there, they didn't have any Tostitos, so I got Doritos. It's tasty. Melissa, every time, Melissa gets different stuff. So sometimes she wants a burger, sometimes she wants a gyro, sometimes it's fruit. Last time it was vegetables. Marnie just wants the yogurt parfait and a Klondike bar. She dreams about the Klondike bar. She says there's been a time when her dad's visited her and she just eats 3 Klondike bars. And both Melissa and Marnie are tiny girls, skinny. And Marnie is 5 feet tall. I'm 5'7", so she's just this teeny thing. So hi, Denmark, hustle in Denmark. Debbie says, whole thing doesn't make sense to me. She had no motive. They lost sight of the witness seeing the suspect running from scene wasn't a female. God, there's so much I want to say on that. I can't wait till I can talk to you about Marnie's case. And I did talk to Tammy from WMP Justice Review. Tammy is who founded, first she has a book publishing company, which is called Words Matter Publishing. And then she also wants to help injustice because she's fighting so much for, people in Africa too. I mean, Tammy has the hugest heart. And so WMP, Words Matter Publishing, Justice Review, is the team that she has put together now on doing wrongful convictions, cold cases, that kind of thing. So Tammy and I discussed a few weeks ago that another branch that's coming off of there will be the WMP Citizen Investigators, the CIs. We've talked about this before in a live. And so that's where, and this is where I'm going to get ripped, but people will pay a membership fee, $10, $25, something like that a year. And for that, you will be in an exclusive website where the cases that we're advocating for, all their documents and everything will be there. Well, you'll be able to see it because we want all your eyes on these, much like, Carol Ann Fitzgerald sending the bone stuff to Kathleen, So you never know who's going to see something and make these pieces fit a different way that you hadn't seen before. And so she really wants to launch that on July 1st. That's what we had discussed before. There's a lot going on, so she's not sure if she's going to be able to do it on July 1st. But also what would be happening is there's this book that I've shown. my mom, Marnie. I have to get this shade on this window. So my mom, Marnie. So those are Marnie's 3 kids. She's got 2 kids. They're twins. And then her younger son. So these kids wrote a book on what law enforcement did to them in their quest to frame their mother. And so this book is obviously published by Words Matter Publishing. And so Tammy would be first offering this book to members of the WMP CIs, the Justice Review CIs, where before this was available in all the stores, you'd be able to get it and at a cheaper price than the average person. And so once this book is out that you guys can all read it, then we'll be able to discuss this stuff. It'll be the kicking off point. I do not know. There is no set date on when Marnie's case is going to be filed yet, because they're just delays. It happens, you know. And the Justice Review team has been working on Marnie's case for 3 years, you know. So there hasn't been a filing, anything, you know. And Marnie's been in prison 10 years. She and Melissa have been in prison about the same time, and their cases are the same county, and there's a same corrupt cop that's involved in both cases. Now, their cases are not combined. One does not have anything to do with another, except for there's one same corrupt cop. But as soon as the book is out there and you guys can all read it, and we're going to be doing things where her kids will come on and you'll be able to talk to her kids. And we'll also do a live phone call with Marnie from prison that you guys will be able to talk to Marnie. Marnie is steadfast on that. Oh, and I've never posted how you could write to her, because on the last visit, because before she said she didn't want letters from anybody because she's just so focused on her case, and now she said she would be okay with getting letters from people as long as you don't discuss her case with her, you know. But she's happy to talk to you. Like, if you're curious about what it's like being in prison, you can ask her about her day and what it's like being there. She'll answer. Marnie is somebody who is very straightforward, and you're not going to get any bullshit from Marnie. There's no sugarcoating. She's just going to tell it how it is. So I got to remember that. Yeah, because I have the card right here. So there's her inmate number. So I'll get that posted. So if you guys want to write to Marnie, you can. Let me scroll through your other stuff. Sand says, does someone cook this for you? Cook what? I know the light is too bright. I got to put a blind on this window. I just moved where my computer was last week. Debbie says, had a thought about Kent too. Didn't they say the relationship was on the rocks, but wasn't he planning building the dream house for them all? Yeah. Kent and his wife, they didn't have the best relationship, but they were together and they had a bunch of kids, you know. And Kent worked hard for his family. Kent made a good living and took excellent care of his family. That woman is awful. Julie says, an interesting unsolved cold case, Paige Renkoski. I went to school with her, disappeared in the late 90s. Her car left running on side of the highway. Google it. It's so sad. Well, Julie, and that's something that WMP Justice Review, this is where the money comes in. So many people that are cold cases or wrongfully convicted, whatever, they do not have the money to put together an investigative team. So just flat out fundraising, it's hard to just pull money in. So that's where you come up with this citizen investigator thing. So you're not just donating your money for nothing, I guess, because, people want something for their money. But the money that comes in is going to be used to help out these other cases. And so Tammy asks people to submit other cases, and Tammy will look into them on if it's because Tammy's another no bullshit person. And much like Kathleen Zellner too, if she's going to look into a case and she doesn't think there's anything that she can do with it, or if it's a wrongfully convicted case and the person is guilty, she's not going to take it. And if anybody can find out you're guilty, it's going to be Tammy. So, so that's something, if you go to the WMP Justice Review, you can submit cases for the team to look into. But of course, in order for the team to investigate things, money has to come in. This stuff all costs money to do. So Pat says, I saw a doc about that it would take a tanker truck full of gas and many, many hours to burn a body. Yeah. There's no way that the body was burned in that burn pit. Debbie says, I'm going to try and get that book. Well, it's right here. Another Debbie says, OMG, I seen her story on ID channel, and it really does make her look guilty, them poor kids. I've talked about this. I don't know if it was the ID channel one, because there's several that's been made on Marnie's case. But right after I did the roundtable thing with the legal team, I then Googled it. Or I think I did, because I have Comcast cable, and so I'm able to just speak into the remote. And so I think I just said her name and pulled up something so I could watch something. So I don't know if it was on the ID channel or if it was on Oxygen or what it was. But I know from now seeing the crime scene photos and the autopsy photos that what they displayed in that show is a lie, because the show says she was found on her back cradling her pregnant belly. She was on her stomach. Purse in one hand, keys in another. On her face. Saw the pictures. So they made it like that to make it look even more horrible of this pregnant woman. Oh, last thing she's doing is cradling her belly. That's not what happened. So if they're going to lie like that, if they're going to edit that, what else have they lied about? I could go on and on. Right, Sand. I said before she didn't want letters. I talked to her last Wednesday when I visited, and I told her how I told people that, and she said now she is acceptable to getting letters. So as long as they don't talk about her case. Amanda says, I'm sure someone has an old TV guide. People collect those things. Sand says, cool. The food when you go to visit, it sounds like good hot food. There's hot and there's cold and there's frozen and there's a microwave there. So, so there's things like Melissa will get a burger, and so then I have to pop it in the microwave. The inmate's not allowed to go to the vending machines or do any of that. I have to do it all. So you can microwave it. The 7-layer dip I get is a cold dip. That's where it's just the beans, salsa, sour cream, cheese, black olives, that thing. So you don't have to cook that up. There's salads, there's ice cream, but yeah, so there's fried chicken, but again, all you have is the microwave that you heat it up in. Julie says, I talked to the investigator as an intuitive. I saw where she was killed and her body was dumped, but nobody took me seriously. I can describe the place still to this day, 20 years later. Wow. That's really interesting. Debbie says it was the one on Dateline. Okay. Yeah, because there's like 3 of them, I think. But the thing I'll tell you on Marnie's case is her side of the story has never been told. Because again, ineffective assistance of counsel. Her first attorney was advising her not to say a word and sold her up the river. So Marnie has never had her day. And that's something like Kent Pellegrini, where, you know, he wants his hashtag to be just wants to be heard. Nobody knows Kent's side. You know, but even when you just look at Kent's case, to put it very, he's in prison for raping his wife. What? Raping his wife? I don't know. So, all right, I was going to end this 20 minutes ago, and now I get off on this tangent. So, again, Barb's a liar, and anybody who's covering for her, you're a liar too. And you don't help Stephen or Brendan by covering for Barb. Right. Debbie says, my mom Marnie is due out July 1st. That's what we've talked about, but things keep happening. So hopefully Tammy still wants to get this done by July 1st. And as soon as I know for sure, I will get this out there, and then we will do a full live, whether or not we do it here or we go do it on Justice Review, or if the Citizen Investigators is started and we do it in there. Because also the real person to be talking to on Marnie's case is Tammy. Tammy knows this case backwards and forwards and back again. So, and then so July 1st is what day? Because I don't do numbers, but my birthday is Wednesday, and that's the 3rd. So then that's Monday, right? So, but and then so the 4th of July is, so we probably will not be going. I probably will not be doing a live until maybe the following week. I don't know. I'm out of town July 13th through 20th. And I'll be pretty much offline most of the time I'm out of town. So I don't know, but you never know. I pop on here randomly all the time. So stay tuned for hopefully July 1st. You'll be able to know more about Marnie. And I'll be visiting Marnie and Melissa on Wednesday. Depending on what's going on Wednesday night, maybe I'll go live Wednesday night when I get back. But my son and his girlfriend want to take me out to dinner one day next week. I just told them to pick a day. So I don't know what day I'm going out with them. So if I'm not going out with them Wednesday, maybe I'll go live Wednesday night after I get back from visiting the girls, and we can talk about that visit. So, all right, I'm going to end this now here for reals this time. Talk to you all soon.